Good afternoon and welcome to the March DAC Monthly Webcast. I'm Jennifer Stafford, the Director in the Division of Assessment and Accountability Support, and I have many of our office mates with me today. We have Shara Savage here, a consultant in our division. She is going to bring us a lot of detailed information on the ACT today. We also have Helen Jones, the branch manager in our division, with us. She's going to talk about some K-Screen updates. We also have Chris Williams, consultant in our division, who's going to bring us updates on the Access and English Learner data validation of scores. And we also have Pam Powers. Pam is monitoring our DAC info email address. So if you have questions, and I know that you do because we've already received some, please email Pam at dacinfo@education.ky.gov. We will answer as many of our questions as we can and give you the most up-to-date information. Although we may not have all the details worked out because we are in a situation that is ever-changing. So we'll update as best we can in the current situation. The agenda for today is lengthy, so we do think that we have a good bit of time today with you. And the first agenda item is the online field test update. We want to let you know how successful it was. We also want to spend some time on the impact of coronavirus on state-required testing. We've been working with our testing vendors, and we want to bring you some updates as we know them today. Also, we have some updates on filed legislation from the 2020 legislative session. So we want to bring you up to date on those items. We do want to note for you that we have sample items out there that have been previously released. We want to just bring you up to date that they continue to be out there. As well as K-Screen data, there is a new ordering process that we want to advise you of because it's coming up very soon to be closed, as well as the Access for ELL's pre-reporting validation. So we want to answer as many of your questions as we possibly can throughout the broadcast, and we'll pause at different times for questions. Now, I want to start with the online field test and tell you that you all have done an amazing job. The efforts that you all have put forth in the administration of the field test has been tremendous. Thanks to the efforts of our district assessment coordinators, our building assessment coordinators, our district technology staff, our principals, our directors of special ed, our teachers, our proctors, our administrators, our students, it was so successful with this online testing. We have had over 772,000 students test online with the survey or the field content area field test. That is tremendous. Last 2 weeks ago was the biggest day of testing. It was the Tuesday of the first week of testing. I want to say that was March 7th, that there was almost 175,000 tests and surveys taken on that single day, which we were ecstatic about the quality and the effort that was given and how successful it really did go. At one point during that day, there were more than 68,000 students on time online at once. So it was really exciting and it's gone very well. Now, that doesn't mean that there were not a few obstacles because we fully understand that those test administration manuals arrived later than we would have liked. Also, the accommodated materials arrived later than we would have expected them to. But thanks to your efforts, we were able to administer the online assessment and make it very successful. The analysis we have received from Pearson has showed that all districts have completed some or all of the test. So there's a few students that are still out there taking the accommodation test and administering those, and we feel like that those will end this week. And as I mentioned, the window for online testing opened February 4th and ran through March 6th. Now, online testing was started last spring in high school. The high schools took the operational assessment as well as field test last spring, and it went as well as it did this spring for our elementary, middle school, and high school field test. This time frame that we're in right now is the transition between our paper testing and online testing. Beginning in next spring, our state summative operational assessments will be administered online at elementary, middle, as well as high schools. So in preparation for that operational assessment in spring 2021, the current social studies standards will be field tested this fall, sometime in the late August, early September timeframe. We are working currently with Pearson to develop the items within the social studies to be prepared for that online field test. And we feel that the weeks of the last full week of August and the last week of August that runs into the first week of September will be the time frame that we're looking at for that social studies field test. Now, we are trying to accomplish the field test in social studies by Labor Day. So by Labor Day, we want to have the social studies field test completed. Now, as a reminder, that field test will be at grades 6, 9, and 12 to prepare for the operational assessments in spring 21. And that assessment will remain operational for accountability at grades 5, 8, and 11. So we just want to note that we're administering the field test at those upper level grades in preparation for the operational in the spring at the original 5, 8, and 11 grades for accountability. So again, that social studies field test will be sometime in the time frame of the last week of August, but definitely trying to get in before Labor Day. The Quality of School Climate and Safety Survey was administered successfully during this field test window. Now, it was a little bit of a disconnect between the Quality of School Climate and Safety Survey and the field test, because the window was the field test window, but that Quality of School Climate and Safety Survey is operational. Moving into 2021, we will combine the Quality of School Climate and Safety Survey with the summative operational assessments, so that there's not the disconnect that we've had here during this time frame. Now, there will remain two constructs for the Quality of School Climate and Safety Survey. There'll be quality and safety. Administration time, we found that it took somewhere around 10 to 12, 15 minutes. Not a lot of students needed 20 minutes to take the survey. Those scores that combines quality and safety will be used for accountability. We are having internal conversations now on how to combine the scores for climate and safety and report those. Now, we do plan to give information on each of these constructs as well as information on each individual item. So the school and district will receive information not by students, but by student demographic groups. So student demographic groups will be reported by percentages within each of the questions. So you'll have information on each of the questions of the survey by student demographic group. So again, the combined score will be included in accountability at that 4% for the 1920 school year. And a roster will be available this coming spring in SDRR to mark participation. Now, I want to turn to a situation that is ever changing. We have had a coordinated effort with many of our local, state, and national organizations on the coronavirus and how that it will impact state testing. The governor talked with our superintendents yesterday on a call and asked our superintendents to be ready within a 72-hour notice to be able to close schools. So now that could have impact on our state testing. And we have some specific information that we want to share with you. We've been actively working with our assessment vendors throughout this process. It is a very fluid situation and is changing almost by the hour. We have received much information over the past few days, and we continuously bring it in and try to develop plans to implement and to communicate with our district assessment coordinators within the districts. Now, our interim commissioner, Kevin Brown, has shared with us that we should apply 3 C's. Those 3 C's are to stay calm, not to panic, to stay clean, to always wash our hands, and also to be cooperative. And we are really trying to work with our assessment vendors and keep them up to date with timely information so that we have developing plans that are fluid and able to adjust as our needs of our districts adjust. So now we have worked first with our vendor with ACT, and we have the most detailed information for administering the ACT in a couple of different situations, because every different district may not have the same situation. Right. So we've provided some guidance and direction here for our ACT. So I'm going to turn to Shara to share the details on each of the different situations.
Thank you, Jennifer. I have received many calls and emails from many of you yesterday and today, and I just want to reiterate what Jennifer said. Stay calm, stay clean, and we will get through this. We'll do this together. So if your district was in session and you took the ACT on March the 10th, that was your initial test day. And if you remain open and you are open on March 24th, that will remain your makeup test date for your paper. Now you can move to an online makeup testing if you so choose, and you can do that next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's the 17th, 18th, and 19th. Now, if your district was not in session this week and did not test on March the 10th, for whatever reason it may have been, your initial test date will be March 24th. And we have opened up some additional dates for you. And so if your initial test date is March 24th, then your makeup day will be April the 14th, your paper testing. We have also opened up the accommodations makeup window for this testing scenario, March 24th through April the 3rd. And you also have an online testing window associated with this scenario of March 24th, 25th, and 26th, and March 31st and April 1st and 2nd. Okay. Now, for districts who tested on March the 10th but will not be in session on the makeup day of March 24th, March 10th was your initial test date, but now April 14th becomes your makeup test date for paper. We also have an accommodations makeup window associated with this scenario of April 14th through the 24th. And we also have an online option for you as well of April the 14th, 15th, 16th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Now, we would like for the accommodations to take place on March 24th through April the 3rd, if at all possible. If it's not possible and you cannot complete the ACT testing during this accommodation window, we would ask that you contact me, Shara Savage, here at KDE, so that we can talk through those scenarios and get you directed on how to accomplish that. We remain in contact with the ACT representatives, and we'll continue to look at further options for testing if schools need to remain closed. So that wraps up what we need to discuss with ACT, but before I hand it off to Jennifer, I'd like to plug in just a little bit about the EOC exams. We will continue to score those exams and get those reports completed for you, hopefully by mid-April. I would encourage you to, if you haven't already mailed those EOC exams in, please do so as soon as possible so that we can get those and get them scored and get those reports off to you, okay? That wraps up what I have to say, and I'm going to hand it back over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Shara. We've also, as we've been working with our assessment vendor with ACT for additional options of testing and makeup for our regular ed students and our special ed students, we've also been working with Pearson, our test vendor, for the summative assessments. Now, the health and safety of our students, faculty, and staff are the foremost priority. As I mentioned, we've been working collaboratively with the Department for Public Health, as well as local health departments and our national partners as well. So it really shows that the health and safety of our students, our faculty, and our staff is the most critical and the most important. We've seen closures of many events throughout this day that we believe to be important, we hold valuable in our hearts and in our minds, but when it really gets down to the time of a critical need, it's our health and our safety, our family and our loved ones that are the most important. So with the possible closures, with accountability, there is the increase of the number of NTI days. We have heard that there is a bill that is being formulated that could increase the number of NTI days and the waiver of NTI days. So each of these things will impact how we interact with our state test. So the possible closure of districts, I believe Boone County announced yesterday that they are closed up until possibly April 20th. The increase to those number of NTI days that in many other districts who may be contemplating the same thing of closing for an extended period of time could impact our state testing. And we will continuously work with our testing vendor to prepare for whatever situation that puts our students and our staff and our loved ones in a safe place. So we're preparing for all possible scenarios that could impact both KPrep as well as alternate KPrep. The state testing vendors, we are in contact with them continuously. We're actively keeping them abreast of the situation and have provided them the governor's guidance to superintendents yesterday. So we're also in contact with our state and national partners. Now, in relation to KPrep and our alternate KPrep, we are continuing our process to develop and coordinate activities toward state testing this year. It is a ever-evolving situation that we have right now. We are going to be prepared for whatever situation that you and your district is in, and we are here to support you and how we administer this assessment or not. Let me pause there, Pam, because Shara shared a lot of information that people may have questions about, as well as the KPrep assessments. We also talked about the field test. So do you have any questions at this time?
Yes, we've had several questions come in. Really, the majority right now are around the CTE EOP window, because that is going on from February 24th to March 31st. And for all of those who are asking that question, we will be tell you to go ahead and contact Sherry Craig.
Yes, yes, that's correct. Sherry Craig is the contact for our career and technical education end of program assessments, and we would encourage you to contact her for any of your questions or your needs on that assessment program.
We've also had some concerns around the social studies window for this fall.
Okay.
We've had several people mention that they'll have 12 instructional days at the most before Labor Day, and are wondering how they're going to get everyone trained on administration code and inclusions reg, and when will they order accommodated materials, and how will that bump up against the data review windows and all that.
Those are some very good questions, Pam, and let me try, and you remind me if I've not answered all of them. So first, let me discuss the 12 days of instruction. We do realize that it's 12 days of instruction. That's the reason we've bumped it up to the next grade. So your sixth graders will take the field test on the content area of elementary schools. So that they will have received all of the instruction from of social studies. So that's the reason that we are bumping it up to that grade level above. And I could say the same thing for ninth graders and 12th graders, that they've already had that previous instruction from the prior years. Now, the accommodations window will be during that same time frame. We're looking at 5 days of a window, just a solid week, and we are looking to have everyone administered during that time. Now, when I say everyone, we are planning to sample the number of students, unlike what we've done this past field test, where we tested everyone in 3rd, 4th, 5th through 8th grade, and 10th and 11th took the field test in reading, math, editing mechanics, and on-demand writing. Everyone was part of that field test. Social studies, we're going to have a little bit different approach, and we will reach out to our districts before you leave this school year. So before the end of the school year, you will have information about the number of students that are possibly being chosen or volunteered for the social studies field test administration. Did I hit all of them?
Data review?
Oh, yes, thank you. Internally, we are looking at calendars, and the data review will be at the traditional time frame in the early August time frame, similar to this past year and prior years that we've had. So we are not going to overlap those two activities. So data review will come prior to the social studies field test administration.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about the quality of school climate and safety survey. And we have people that want to know how the students are scored on the survey since they had the option to skip questions. How does that work?
Thank you for that question. We were in discussion of that topic right before we walked down here. We are in contact with our national experts in surveys and instruments, as well as we have a proposal from our vendor Humro, which many of you have been involved with activities that Humro has hosted, they have given a proposal on how to bring all of those together, and we're looking to them for guidance and direction. We do have a plan that we are working toward. We had a call with the U.S. Department of Education on Friday of last week to discuss our plans for the Quality of School Climate and Safety Survey, and we are proposing a methodology to report the survey and use it in accountability. Now that has to be approved, and once that is in place, then more details will be shared at that time.
Okay, another question on the field test. Do they have to do administration code training prior to the field test, or will the training from the springtime work?
Thank you. The administration code that you are providing right now in preparation for the spring 20 and test administration will suffice for the fall field test. So whatever training that you are giving in preparation for this spring will hold for the field test in social studies for next fall.
And a question about the field test that's just now wrapping
Okay.
up.
Yep.
Will there be a place for districts to give feedback on the current field testing?
Yes, there will. We have two pieces of two directions that we are going to seek feedback. First, we're going to talk with our DAC advisory group about how field testing went. We've got multiple representatives from across the state on our district or DAC advisory, as well as we are planning a survey that is not yet developed because we've had coordination activities for the plans moving forward that's being impacted with this coronavirus. But we will provide all of our district assessment coordinators the opportunity to provide your valuable feedback, because you all have some very good ideas and perspectives, and we value those and honor those, and we want to hear from you.
We have one more question that has come in. This is around the ACT. What do you define as in session? Is an NTI day considered in session or not?
So that is for purposes of state testing, you are in session, however, you're unable to administer the test because you literally have to be face-to-face with the person to be able to administer the assessment. And that's not only for the ACT. I would apply that also to KPrep and alternate KPrep. So to administer any state test, you would have to be in person with the student.
Exactly.
And that's all the questions so far.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Cher, for coming back up. All right, let's turn now to a legislative update. We have had several bills that have been filed with the General Assembly. I want to preface the comments that none of these filed bills have become law. So they're all in various stages of proposal, and it takes a lot of legislative action to make a bill a law. So I want to share these proposed bills with you and let you know what is being discussed, but that none of them are actually gone through the whole legislative process and have not become a bill yet. So let's start with the one with the most sweeping change, and that's Senate Bill 158. Now, the Senate Bill 158 amends KRS 158-6455 to create an accountability system that includes an annual meaningful differentiation of public schools in the state using multiple measures that describe the overall performance of each district, school, and student subgroup. The performance is based on a combination of academic and school quality indicators and measures known as state indicators. These indicators exclusively include student assessment results, progress toward achieving English proficiency by limited English proficiency students, that quality of school climate and safety survey, high school graduation rates, as well as post-secondary readiness. The bill removes specific language that an overall summative performance evaluation of each school and district compared to the goals established by KDE. And that the evaluation of each school and district does not consist of a single summative numerical score that ranks schools against each other. So that language was removed. In addition, the evaluation should be based on a combination of academic and quality indicators and measures with greater weight assigned to the academic measures. Now, in Section 3 of the bill, it removes achieving a minimum score of the statewide assessment from high school graduation requirements. Additionally, it states that the minimum graduation requirements should not include achieving any post-secondary readiness indicator. In Section 6, the bill changes the score of 5 on any international baccalaureate exam to a 4. So that would change from a 5 to a 4. Now, I will note for you that that was in the, all those pieces were in the original version, and there has been an updated version, which is Senate Bill 158, Senate Committee Substitute. So that Senate Committee Substitute is the version that you would want to look at and review, because it does retain a lot of the provisions of the original bill, except that it amends the 158 to clarify implementation dates of the accountability system. So these changes that would be made if this legislation was completed and a law would not come into the accountability system until the 2021 school year. So I would want you to look specifically at that committee substitute for the implementation dates. It also clarifies that there's 3 years of performance would be used when determining the lowest performing 5% of schools. It deletes the minimum subgroup provision and clarifies that a superintendent, principal, or school can appeal a performance judgment. So that subcommittee, Senate Committee Substitute, it continues to amend the school report card regulations in KRS 158-6453 and subsection 17 to read that for advanced placement, Cambridge, Advanced International, and International Baccalaureate, the course is offered, the number of students enrolled completing and taking the examination for each course, and the percentage of the percentage of the examinees receiving the score, and that it would change that international baccalaureate to a 4 and not a 5. So it reiterates that. And that the data shall be disaggregated by gender, race, students with disabilities, and economic status. So that's the legislation that has the most sweeping changes to the accountability system. Now, where it is at, that committee substitute was passed by the Senate Education Committee. It was received over in the House on March 20th, March 5th, 2020, and has not seen action since that time. So that's the bill that you will want to keep an eye on for the most sweeping changes. Now, let's look at a couple of other of the bills. House Bill 278 amends KRS 158-6455 to require the inclusion of ASVAB test as a measurement of post-secondary readiness in the state accountability system, and that the Kentucky Board of Education determines that benchmark. Now, it was received in the Senate on February 14th, and it was in the Senate Education Committee on February 18th. Now, there's also a House Joint Resolution number 82. It is, it directs the Commissioner of Education to convene a Strategic Assessment and Accountability Committee to establish minimum requirements for the composition of the committee and establishes the duty of the committee. And the duty of the committee would be to review assessment and accountability measures within the state of Kentucky and to report the findings of that committee to the interim joint by December 1st. Now, House Bill, there are three other filed pieces of legislation. First is House Bill 429. House Bill 429 amends the state statute to require that a pre-college exam, admissions exam, be administered in the fall of grade 10 instead of the college admissions exam, and allows a student to retake the college admissions exam in the fall of grade 12. Now, this bill does continue the administration of the college admissions exam at grade 11. House Bill 514 requires that each local district shall determine a high score required for a student to be exempted from the college admissions exam. If a student attains the high score on the admissions exam, the parent, guardian of the student, or the student, if they're 18, may request exemption from the college admissions exam from any college admissions exam the student has not taken. Now, the last one I'll note is House Bill 87. It's a floor amendment 2, amends the statute to prohibit high school graduation requirements from including a post-secondary readiness indicator used in the state accountability or a minimum score on the statewide assessment. It also amends the 158.140 to prohibit the local board from requiring achievement of a minimum score on the statewide assessment as a graduation requirement. So that's a brief highlight of the statutes or bills that have been filed. And again, I just want to reiterate that these are bills that have been filed, but they have not become law yet. There's many steps that it takes for a bill to become a law. So none of those have been finalized. None of them are completed yet, but we do want you to be aware and keep abreast of those. Now, on your slides, you do see the links to each of those. You can watch the movement of those to see where they are in each of the committees, as well as there's links to the original bills or any substitutes. So you can utilize those links to keep abreast of those. Now, before we transition into KPrep sample test items, I'd like to welcome here on the set with me Rhonda Simms, our Associate Commissioner. I'm so glad for you to be
Jennifer.
here.
This is what happens when you don't lock the studio door. and so people just pop in. But just wanted to really kind of give our good wishes to everyone. We know everyone's dealing with a lot of stressful circumstances here, and we are getting the kind of calls where people are a little concerned about how testing fits into all this. And obviously, you know, your top priority is your health and safety and those of your students and your family and your community. And just know we're going to continue to work with our vendors. We're going to continue to work with the U.S. Department of Ed as this whole situation moves forward and evolves. And Commissioner Brown is very much in communication, really I would almost say hourly, with the governor's office, with school superintendents, a number of opportunities for direct communication there with the governor. So we're going to keep you abreast of things that impact testing and accountability as we move forward. I would ask you to be patient with the process and the situation. You know, we have a lot of experience dealing with change in our world, and so we will continue to use that experience to help us move through this effectively where it relates to our work specifically. I'll echo the 3 C's that Commissioner Brown is always saying. You know, we're encouraging everybody here and everyone we interact with to remain calm, to clean, And I will have to tell you, I was singing the alphabet song a few minutes ago when I was washing my hands. That's a good 20-second mark to make sure you're washing those hands for 20 seconds. And then also to cooperate, because we all have to kind of work together to move forward through this process. But again, you got a great team here in the communication group, as well as a great team with our data group that works behind the scenes most of the time. But we'll motor through all this just like we have crisis in the past, and we'll motor through this one as well. So you reach out to us, and I know you will, with questions you have, and that'll help us build communication to address those questions. So stay safe and do those things: calm, clean, and cooperate. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate your
Thank
stopping
you.
by.
Thank you. Appreciate being on the set for a few minutes.
So the next topic, we want to just reiterate the fact that we do have sample items out there. They are out there, they are old, but we do have sample items. We just want to note for you that there are, for the operational test, there's sample KPrep items that are available for reading, math, writing standards, and they are available on the Google Drive. The items and the links do not contain items for the new standards or for science or social studies. For science, the recommended process for administering the task and the through course task bank may be accessed on KDE's websites, and you can contact Ray McIntyre for any questions or science needs. For the field test, we had practice tests, we had tutorials available through the Pearson Access Next landing page, and you can find those by clicking practice test in the lower right-hand corner. And those tutorials were split between two levels, grades 3 through 5 and grades 6 through 12. And there's always the KentuckyStandards.org website that has valuable resources and a plethora of activities there that you can utilize. So we just wanted to update you just as a reminder that those are out there and they continue to be out there. So next, Helen Jones has joined me in the hot seat here with me. We have a new consultant in our division. If you have been a Title I coordinator, you may know Jennifer Aiken. She has transitioned over to our office from the Office of Continuous Improvement, and Jennifer is our new K-Screen consultant. She's been to several of the February DAC trainings, and hopefully you got to meet her. She is out sick today, not with the coronavirus. She thinks she has the regular flu, and we wish her well right now as she recovers from that. But so Helen is going to bring to us some information on K-Screen.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Again, like Jennifer said, obviously I am not Jennifer Akins, but we do wish her well, and hopefully she'll be recovering and with us shortly. What I want to talk to you guys about today, however, is K-Screen. This window is, we're in the midst of it right now, and we have some information about what you need to do in terms of a new ordering process. So I want to talk to you about that right now. As you probably are aware, in the past, when you wanted to order materials for K-Screen, you would contact KDE, and the person that you would contact was Lori Devers. Well, Curriculum and Associates has developed a new process for ordering materials for screening kindergartners. There's a downloadable order of forms, and there are directions that are located on the Curriculum and Associates Kentucky webpage. All of your orders must be placed, keep in mind, by March 26th. So email, and then what you would do is once you've completed the spreadsheet, you will email the spreadsheet to fulfillment at this link, fulfillmentops@cainc.com. The materials and then the materials will be delivered to you by mid-May. What will be included will be the Spanish directions should be provided for your translators. This screenshot shows you what that would look like on your on the Curriculum Associates KPrep Kentucky Brigance page, there is on the left-hand side where the arrow is pointing, there is the link for the downloadable spreadsheet. So you would click that link. The web page would then open up. And as the web page opens up, in the blue bar, there's a drop-down arrow. You will select your district. There are 3 tabs that you need to be aware of. There is the information tab, there is the quantities, and then there's the shipping tab. So you would select your district, and and then the the spreadsheet will open up for you. So let's advance to the next one. On the quantities page, you have to include all the information here. So there's information on how many expected kindergartners, how many expected new kindergartners, grades K curriculum, how many new classrooms that will be opening this year. So the first column will be how many existing grades K classroom from last year. The next column is how many new grades K classroom that will be opening this year. About how many students that you anticipate that will be screened in total. How many new sets of Spanish directions that you will need, and how and would you like new data sheets shipped as well. So the next tab is the shipping tab. And with the shipping tab, you have 3 options. You can decide whether or not you want it shipped directly to the school, to the district, or to a warehouse. Now, once you've completed all 3, the entire spreadsheet, you need to save the spreadsheet. Once you save the spreadsheet, then you will send the completed spreadsheet back to the link that was identified on slide 20. And that is the fulfillment ops slide. The next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is upcoming K-Screen training requirements. The new district training the trainer administrators must have at least a 6-hour training module, and that's presented by Curriculum and Associates and KDE. New teachers administering the screen must attend a 3-hour session, and that's provided by the district TOT or the trainer. Experienced district trainers or TOT trainers must request a web refresher. Experienced teachers administering the screen must receive a 1-hour refresher, and that's provided by the district TOT. New and experienced data entry staff annually must review training materials hosted on the Common Kentucky Entry Screen website. Now for the K-Screen training opportunities, there is some information for the experienced training of the trainer. On March 25th, there will be a refresher webcast that will be held here at KDE. It will be housed on the Media Portal. It will be a recorded webcast, and it will be available through July. For our data entry staff, training videos, implementation guides, and Infinite Campus resources are available. Additional staff in the district, that will be determined, that training will be determined by the district TOT. This slide, you may look at this kind of like somewhat of a check sheet if you choose. This is the K-Screen task. So things that you need to consider when planning. So you need to plan for the screening. When do you want to screen? What is the screening window? What method do you plan to use for screening your students? Will it be using traditional student data sheets or an iPad? You want to plan for your staff training. You want to make sure that you review your implementation guide during that time and reference your K-Screen updates as well. the K-Screen resource updates, and here's some resources for you. You've got the K-Screen updates, implementation guide, your K-Screen webcasts, refresher for your train-the-trainer, prior settings video, and all of this in the Curriculum and Associates Kentucky Brigade series, and this is housed on the Common Kentucky Entry Screen website.
So at this point, let's look to Pam and see if she has any questions.
We've had a couple questions come in. We have one here on the K-Screen. If the schools are out, do we have a backup plan for K-Screen ordering?
So the ordering window is through the 27th. And it opened previously. It opened at the earlier this month. So I think that I would encourage our K-Screen administrators to go ahead and place those orders with those anticipated numbers and those existing numbers now. So I think I would be proactive in completing that task before any of the closures, or if you are sent home for that. So I think I would advise to be proactive in that.
Okay. We also have a question about sample items. Do we have a plan to release new sample items which are aligned to the new standards? And will it be in the online environment possibly?
We do have a plan for releasing items as early as this year. We are in process of developing some new items for the release. We are working with our content area consultants currently in the Office of Teaching and Learning. Have identified items and are looking forward to releasing those. So look in upcoming DAC emails for information on new released items.
And one more question concerning the field test.
Okay.
If a school received an extension but now school has been canceled, what do you recommend that we do?
I would recommend that you pack the materials and return those materials to Pearson. So if your school is closed, I'm going to assume that the Quality of School Climate and Safety Survey was completed online, because that was open and available during the whole entire field test window. If you did not get your accommodated students tested, please pack those materials up and send those back to Pearson.
That's all the questions at this time.
Well, thank you, Pam. We've had another change presenter. So welcome, Chris. Chris is here to talk with us about access for ELLs and pre-reporting validations.
Yes, thanks, Jennifer. Well, welcome. I want to talk to you today about, like Jennifer said, the access for ELLs pre-reporting, data validation. This is the time where you have finished access testing and are now ready to, the vendor for DRC has already went through and have put all of that information into this data validation for you. They have taken every demographic that you had, online in the system in WIDA AMS, which is the WIDA Assessment Management System that you're working in. And so they've taken that data, as well as for our kindergarten, our alternate assessment students who took paper pencil. Our students who also took paper pencil were Braille and large print students, and have taken all that information and our demographic information and put it into the WIDA AMS system to be able for you as a DAC or BAC to be able to go in and check that information one more last time before your reports are printed for you and or your reports are shipped to you. And you're going to be seeing those reports in WIDA AMS in late April. and you'll online, and then also those printed reports will be sent to you early May. So you'll be able to see those scores for those students. Right now, during this time, is you will not be able to see those scores. You're only going to go in and do the making sure the demographic information is correct. You'll also go in and fix any of your students who are duplicates, and we're going to talk about how to fix those duplicate records as well. Another thing is that going in and making sure that if you had a student who didn't get tested and there was a valid non-participation reason why, and for the do not score section, you would want to contact me, and I'll be more than glad to work with you on fixing that for those students who didn't complete all of their assessment for a valid reason. It could be they moved during testing and didn't get all the domains done, so we want to be able to fix those students. Also, we had students who, had a medical or extraordinary circumstance or reason why they didn't test during access. And so we do want to make sure that you do take the time, if you've got any students who are like that only partially tested, that you get with me so that way during this time, and I'll be able to fix those particular situations for those do not score codes only. And then what you'll want to do is, when are you going to be doing this work? Well, of course, it started last Friday on March 6th. It'll go to the 20th, and you'll be able to have that window to be able to do all of this information in WIDA AMS. And like I said, when you're going into WIDA AMS, you're going to go into two parts of it. So you're going to go into, if you've got any students who took the regular access, you'll go in and fix the demographics and all the information for them in the system. And then also for our alternate access students, you'll be able to go in and fix that information as well. So there's two things you want to make sure that you've done for those two populations of students who took the assessments. Now remember, if you had kindergarten students, they took the kindergarten access, and that would be in the regular access part. The only students who will be in the alternate would be those students on alternate access who, with accommodations, could not for valid reasons be able to take the regular access because it would invalidate their assessment. So for those students who fall into that, that is that alternate access. And so you'll have to make sure to, if you've got any of those students, it should be less of that population to be able to clean up for your students. But remember, this is one more last look at your demographic information. You want to make sure that's correct, so that way when you get your reports, that information will be correct on those reports, and you'll be able to share those with parents and things like that after we do our data validation 2 as well in access for the fall. But this is the time to do it with our vendor, with DRC, our Data Recognition Corporation. Now, let's talk about on the next slide, because the next slide is going to talk about our duplicate students. And our duplicate students in WIDA AMS, we do have students who are like that, where you say, Chris, last year, I forgot to do the data validation, and why do I have 2 score reports? Why do I have one report that shows that the student took maybe writing on this report, and then the other 3 domains are on another report? Well, one of the reasons why was because it wasn't cleaned up during data validation, and you had a duplicate, you had the student in there twice into WIDA AMS. So we want to be proactive this year, and how to clean that up is that you want to make sure and go in to make sure everything that you see on the screen, the first name all the way to the school information, that is all correct in WIDA AMS for that student on both records. And it doesn't matter if it's all in capitals, if it's all in caps, because that won't matter as long as all of this information is correct for both records. Then, now one thing that will happen, if you've got any hyphens Or if you've got any spaces, you want to make sure both records have both hyphens and spaces in it. You don't want to leave any of this information on the screen blank. Because if you haven't filled in every bit of this information, then once it closes on the 20th in WIDA MS, DRC would not be able to merge those two records together. So we don't want that to happen for you to get 2 score reports and not have an overall composite for students. Also, we had some trainings, resources from WIDA that they have already done for data validation. If you have not partake in this particular these particular trainings for the data validation, those are still, if you've got a WIDA secure portal username and password, you can log in and go over. You still have time to be able to go over those resources to get yourself familiar of what you're supposed to do in WIDA AMS during this time. And of course, I'm also a good resource. If you have any questions about this, I'll be more than glad to assist you. So,
Great, thank you, Chris, very
Thank you,
much
Jennifer.
for that informative information. Let's turn to Pam and see if she has any questions.
No questions on the last topic, just a follow-up on the field test for fall. Will our administration code that we have given in the spring cover the fall?
Yes, it will. So the administration code that you are offering right now for your test administrators will suffice for the fall field test for social studies. So that will hold, and you do not have to repeat any administration codes or the inclusions of special populations training next fall. So we do realize that that's a short turnaround from the beginning of school to the administration of the field test, and are cognizant of that. So the training that you provide now will cover in the fall for that field test.
That's all the questions we have.
Well, thank you all. I want to notice that next DAC Webcast is April 16th. This is 1 week later than our normal scheduled time. There is a conflict with our normal scheduled time, and that is the Kentucky Board of Education meeting. So the Kentucky Board of Education is going to trump our DAC Webcast. Andy and Megan here in the studio, they also broadcast the Board of Education meetings, and they will be at that location and presenting at there. So we have moved our April DAC Webcast to April 16th at the same time. So we just want to note that that's not our regular scheduled time. We do thank you for your participation today. We thank you for all the efforts that you've given throughout this field test administration. It was amazing because you are amazing. And we have got wonderful staff and team here in the Office of Assessment and Accountability and the Division of Assessment and Accountability Support. We stand by, ready to serve you. And we wish you the best. We wish you all the safety as you face this issue. We encourage you to follow the advice of our leaders, and that is the 3 C's: to stay calm, to stay clean, and as well as we look forward to your cooperation as we always do. We wish you the best, and we will see you back here in April.